Hello everyone, I am Dr. Tanush Paul Bhatia, Consultant Urologist at Sarodaya Hospital and Research Center in Faridabad, Haryana. Today we will talk about benign enlargement of prostate, which is a very common disease affecting the old age men. When we talk about benign enlargement of prostate, this concerns the prostate gland. Prostate gland is a walnut-shaped gland which is placed in our body just distal to the bladder, and the urine passes through the prostate gland into the urethra and outside. That's how it goes outside the body, and that is why when the prostate gland increases in size with age, it causes some sort of obstruction to the flow of urine, and that is why patients develop symptom of prostatic enlargement, also referred to as benign enlargement of prostate. As time progresses and as the obstruction to the urinary flow increases, there are changes in bladder also, because of which there is thickening of the bladder wall, and there is some sort of automaticity, because of which some patients also experience urgency to pass urine in addition to the blockage. And there are some more symptoms which I will be talking about later. So when we talk about symptoms of benign enlargement of prostate, the first and the most common symptom, which is most predominant as well, is poor flow of urine. The patients with benign enlargement of prostate, they experience that the flow of urine is gradually decreasing with age. In addition to the poor flow, they also develop intermittency. That is, the urine does not pass out in one stream. There is blockage to the passage of urine and it causes intermittency. Also, they experience what is called as hesitancy. Hesitancy means that patient wants to pass urine, he goes to the bathroom, but he is not able to pass immediately. He has to wait for some time, and that is when the stream of urine starts. Also, as time progresses, patients develop urgency. That is, that whenever they have a feeling to pass urine, they cannot wait. They have to rush to the bathroom, and if the disease is ignored for a long time, they can even develop incontinence of urine, what is referred to as urgency incontinence. Also, patients with prostatic enlargement can have increased frequency of urine. Especially, some of them may experience nocturia, that is, they might have to wake up at night after sleeping to pass urine. Rarely, patients with benign enlargement of prostate can have blood in urine, which is referred to as hematuria. However, hematuria or blood in urine is an alarming symptom, and it should trigger a complete evaluation of the patient to rule out any untoward disease. So these are the common symptoms of benign enlargement of prostate. If any old age man more than 45 years of age is experiencing these symptoms, there is a high chance that he might be suffering from benign enlargement of prostate. As the age increases, the more chances of developing symptoms due to BEP. So when that was about symptoms, and when patient comes to us with these symptoms, we examine the patient. The examination of a patient with benign enlargement of prostate mainly includes the prostatic examination, which is done through the rectum by feeling the prostate, the character of prostate, the surface of prostate, and seeing its relation to the rectal mucosa. This is a very important examination. It also helps us to rule out if patient has malignancy of prostate, because the initial symptoms of benign enlargement as well as malignancy can be same. That is, the urinary symptoms, also referred to as lower urinary tract symptoms, which I just mentioned. So after a complete history taking and examination, we move on to investigation. So I will talk about the most common investigations that we do, and it starts with an ultrasound. Ultrasound of the kidney, ureter and bladder region, and an assessment of the post-void residual urine. That is, how much urine is remaining after a patient has passed urine. This helps us to determine the severity of obstruction, because some patients, especially diabetic patients, they may not know that they are holding a large amount of urine back in the bladder, and that is where ultrasound comes in handy. When we talk about blood tests which are concerned with prostatic enlargement, we do a kidney function test and a PSA test. PSA stands for prostate specific antigen. So prostate specific antigen is a chemical which is specific to the prostate. So in conditions affecting the normal architecture of prostate gland, the PSA increases. These include infection of prostate like prostatitis, and in cases of prostate cancer, and also if patient has had recent retention of urine or any sort of instrumentation, or at times even after ejaculation, there can be a rise in the PSA. So PSA is essentially used as a screening test for prostate cancer, but if you have gotten a PSA test prescribed by someone or during a health checkup, do not be alarmed if it comes to a computer and that determines the flow of the urine and gives us a objective value as well as a graph. So we were talking about uroflowmetry, which is a test in which the patient is asked to pass urine in a special commode which is connected with the computer. So it helps us to objectively know the flow of the urine of the patient, and it also gives us a graph which helps us to some extent in knowing the reason for the obstruction of urine. Other than that, we always get a urine routine and a urine culture test done for any patients who comes to us with urinary symptoms, and that helps us to determine the presence of infection in the urine. So we have spoken about the normal anatomy of prostate, the symptoms that a patient may experience when they develop benign enlargement of prostate, the examination of prostate gland, and the investigations that we do to assess this problem. So after our complete assessment, we come to treatment of benign enlargement of prostate. At times we see patients who do not have any urinary symptoms, but they got an ultrasound done and there was some enlargement of prostate, and they come to us for opinion. So if you do not have any symptom at all, you usually do not require any form of treatment for prostate. It's only when you develop symptoms, and especially when the symptoms are troublesome, they are troubling you in your day-to-day work, they are interfering with your day-to-day activities, or in other words, they are bothersome, that is when you require treatment for prostatic enlargement. And in most of the patients, it is usually medical treatment. Few patients do require surgery for prostatic enlargement, and we will discuss later who are those patients. When we talk about medical treatment of benign prostatic enlargement, we use different types of drugs for this, and most commonly used types of drugs are alpha blockers, and they give very good results, and 60 to 70% of patients respond well to it, as they lead to opening of the urinary tract or the bladder neck, and because of which the patient can pass the urine very nicely. Sometimes some patients may not improve just with alpha blockers, and they require some drugs to reduce the contractility of prostate, that is the automaticity of prostate, and they are prescribed anticholinergics as and when required. Also, there are some patients who develop benign enlargement of prostate as well as problems with erectile function. So these patients benefit with another class of drugs which are referred to as PDE5 inhibitors. So when we talk about surgical treatment of prostate, gone are the days when very large incisions are made to take out the prostate by a blind method by scooping it out of its cavity. Nowadays, prostate is operated endoscopically through the urinary tract, and any size of prostate can usually be taken out through the urinary tract itself. There are two main techniques which are used to do this. One uses electrocautery, and it is referred to as TURP, or transurethral resection of prostate. And in the other method we use laser, and that is referred to as laser prostatectomy. There are different indications for these surgeries. So first we will discuss the indications for surgery for prostate as such. How do you know whether you require surgery for prostate or not? If you have symptoms of prostate and you have been started on some medications and you are not responding to medication at all, you require surgery. If you are responding to medication but the response is not satisfactory and you are still bothered with the symptoms, you require surgery. If you develop retention of urine while on medication, you require surgery. If you develop retention of urine again and again and you require repeated catheterizations, then you require surgery for prostate. If you develop recurrent urinary tract infections because of prostatomegaly, then you require surgery. And if you develop recurrent bleeding in urine, that is hematuria, because of benign prostatic enlargement, you do require surgery. In addition to these, there are some patients who develop stones in bladder because of blockage of urine due to prostate. These patients are a straight away indication for surgery, as in these cases stones, bladder stones as well as prostate are managed in single sitting. Also, if the disease is neglected for a very long time, some patients may develop kidney disease, that is renal failure, and these patients are also a straight away indication for surgery. So as I said, there are two types of surgery which are done commonly nowadays. Both are done endoscopically without any cuts through the transurethral route. Most commonly done surgery and most widely available is TURP or transurethral resection of prostate. In this technique, electrocautery is used and small chips of prostate are cut and they are pushed into the bladder and then they are taken out. It is a technique which has been there for very long, and so it is a time tested technique and it has very good results. However, when the prostate is very large, or if a patient is taking blood thinners, which is common nowadays as coronary artery disease is very common, so these patients, that is the patients with large prostate and patients on blood thinners, they have a risk of bleeding, excessive bleeding during the usual transurethral resection of prostate or TURP. That is why they benefit more with laser prostatectomy. Also, with TURP there used to be a risk of dilutional hyponatremia, which is referred to as TUR syndrome. With the advancements in technology, with laser prostatectomy, the risk of TUR syndrome is very, very less. So, the advantage of laser prostatectomy is in patients with large prostate, in patients who are on blood thinners, and in patients with chronic diseases who are at risk of TUR syndrome, who cannot